All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Janet Roark, and as promised, I'm here with you this Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time to answer a few of your questions. I do this for about 10-15 minutes every Sunday. We might change which day we do it just because people have not been seeing these particular lives recently. But you guys have been asking some great questions, so we're gonna jump right into it. A few people posted their questions early, so if you are hopping on live, let me know where you're watching from, and what essential oil is your favorite right now. And if you have a question for me about animals or essential oils or essential oils and animals, go ahead and pop it in the chat, in the comments. I do see those, and I will get to those after we do the previously posted questions. So our first question is from Corrine Bouchard. She has a very anxious dog barking whenever the owner leaves the house. Working with copaiba and serenity topically, wanted to do copaiba internally and the serenity softgel, which is internal. The vet suggested trazodone for anxiety, which is kind of it's a sedative, basically. Can it be used with the serenity softgel and copaiba internally, or is it better to work topically only? Thank you very much. Okay, so just really quickly, the way essential oils work for the mind, for the brain specifically, is through a process that involves olfaction. And so when an animal or person breathes in an essential oil or a smell, it actually can, with animals, bypass certain parts of the brain and actually affect the limbic system directly. The limbic system is part of what triggers, like, it's very closely related to the emotional center of the brain, and that part of the brain, the amygdala, that affects that anxiety type of behavior, that fear response that happens, okay, anticipating something that maybe isn't actually scary. So because of that, diffusion or topical, where they can actually smell the oil, is still really, really important. So I don't want you to forget about that, Corinne, because that is a very, very important factor in a lot of these, like, super anxious animals and helping them calm down. That being said, yes, you can use both of those internally, those products that you asked about internally, and yes, you can use it with the occasional trazodone. Very, very safe to do both of those. Okay, but don't forget about diffusion, can be really beneficial as well. So I would actually do both in this case. Pam Rivard says, is chamomile effective for a horse with occasional anxiety? Chamomile works great for me, so I would like to try it for my horse. And the answer is yes, you absolutely can try that. If it works well for you, you being calm can actually help your horse being calm as well, as I'm sure you know. Just keep in mind that depending on if you're at a show or not, a recognized show, some show organizations do not allow certain types of things to be used, performance changing substances, basically. And that does include herbals in some cases. So, like the U.S. Equestrian Federation, they actually have chamomile is not allowed on their list. So just keep that in mind. If it's at home, no big deal. And chamomile gets out of their system very, very quickly. Also, if you're just using it aromatically, that definitely doesn't affect the horse at all. They're mainly talking about herbs that you're giving internally in those cases. So, but yeah, you can definitely use it topically and aromatically most of the time. And certainly very, very helpful in, at home, or, when you're just riding on your own. Jack Wolf has a question. My senior 17-year-old cat has been sneezing a lot lately. Is there anything I can diffuse to help her? So, Jack, one of the things you want to do is definitely go let your vet know what's going on. There's different things that can, sometimes it's, bacterial or viral or fungal. Sometimes they're sneezing because of allergies. Sometimes they're sneezing because there's actually a blockage in there. With an older cat, I would be worried about a mass of some sort potentially causing this problem. So, but if it's just a sneezing fit really quick and it's only a certain time of the year, a lot of times it's just because they had an inhaled allergen and they're sneezing because of that. So that being said, yes, there's some great things you can diffuse. Air X is one of my favorites. Very, very safe for cats. Lavender is another really good one. And Roman chamomile. The other one I really like is cardamom. Cardamom is great for opening up the respiratory system and very, very safe for kitty cats. So those are some different ones you can try, Jack. Kelly says recommendations for a hot spot on a 68-pound dog. Kelly Terry. So what I recommend for hot spots is my skin rejuvenating spray. You can grab that recipe over at essentialoilvet.com/recipes. And there is a skin rejuvenating spray in there, and it is a combination of frankincense, helichrysum, lavender, and myrrh. You can add in a little bit of copaiba as well if you want. But those oils, and you want to dilute it out. I'll often put aloe juice in there as well, which is very cooling and very helpful for hot spots. So that is my favorite recipe for hot spots. Tried and true. I've been using it for 10 years and very, very effective in most cases. Louise Leclerc is asking, she says, I have a dog that gets very anxious when there's too much other dog activity around him. Displays behavior like trying to bite the chain link fence and jumping to get away. What oils would help him? So, Louise, we actually talked about different things that you can use for anxiety briefly with some of the other questions today. So hopefully you found that helpful. But you could definitely do things like balance, serenity, lavender, peace, console. We have a great, those are all great blends that I really like. If you're not wanting a blend, you can try lavender, Roman chamomile, petitgreen. We also have a great kind of anxiety type of blend for kind of like these panic attacks that people and animals can have. And it is called Adaptive. So that is helping you adapt to your environment. It's got some great adaptogens in there, and that might be really beneficial as well. I would also probably do copaiba internally if it's a daily thing. GSM Wendy says, I've been contacted about one Great Dane and one Doberman. Both are believed to have wobblers. Is there anything that would be beneficial? So these guys really benefit really well with acupuncture. So if you have a veterinarian in your area that does acupuncture, that is probably going to be your best case scenario. Some veterinarians are comfortable doing chiropractic work on these as well. Those are going to be your favorite. As far as essential oils, you can do some nervous system support oils like frankincense, copaiba, helichrysum, and spikenard. And those would be probably the ones that I would reach for first. Great question. And let's see here. Okay, it looks like there is awesome. Carol is all about the On Guard Plus soft gels because she's back to school, all the back to school stuff going on. Gail says, I have a chihuahua that needs to lose weight and will only eat human food. Turns his head up at kibble. I've tried and I buy the expensive ones. Okay, so Gail, I actually do not like kibble, especially if a dog needs to lose weight because it causes a lot of inflammation. I like feeding human food, and I would like to also get on a little soapbox here, and maybe let's not call things dog food versus human food. It's all just food, okay? Some is just processed a little bit differently, but most dogs do really, really well with a whole food based diet, which means you can definitely do human food. Just make sure it's healthy human food. And there's some great recipes out there. Dr. Judy Morgan has a pup loaf recipe that's excellent. It's free. You guys can go find it on YouTube or on her website, Dr. Judy Morgan. She has a great one. I really like that recipe. It's a complete recipe, so they're going to get all their nutrients that they need. The biggest thing, Gail, is how much food you're getting. and how many calories that little dog actually needs, and making sure you're not overfeeding. Just because he likes it doesn't mean he's hungry. Okay, repeat after me. Food is not love. Food is not love. Dogs will try and convince you that food equals love, but that is not true. That is not true. Okay. So, overfeeding is very, very common, especially in little bitty dogs, because they really don't need very much food at all. They have a very small stomach and they do not need much food. They do not need many calories to be able to thrive. And so just making sure that it's super healthy food. You're maybe feeding turkey instead of beef, kind of a thing. And lots of vegetables are super, super good. And you can do lots of like broccoli and green beans and, all of those sorts of things. Stay away from things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, lots of carbs, just like with people. So dogs are not obligate carnivores, but they're facultative carnivores, and they do really, really well with a primarily meat and organ meat based diet with a few vegetables and even a smaller amount of fruits. Okay, so they don't need all those different carbs and things like that. So organ meat is very, very high in taurine. That's the thing that most people are concerned about with grain-free foods. But grains don't actually have any taurine in them, you guys. Stay away from things like peas and legumes like lentils and things like that. Let's see. Jessica says, I have a cat with chronic respiratory infection. Are those same oils you said earlier? Or I have to have something else. So yeah, I would definitely use those ones that I talked about for the cat that was sneezing. And maybe even a little bit of On Guard diffused. And you can also do the Kids Stronger blend on the ear tips for the kitty. That I like that a lot for those chronic respiratory kitties. Let's see. Trina says, my 1.5-year-old Shih Tzu is terrified of people. Perhaps his breeder was abusive, but anytime friends come, he shakes terribly and barks and hides and throws up. It's awful. Anything specific we can do when we know in advance someone's coming? Yeah, so I would definitely do the copaiba internally, and then all those calming oils that we talked about. So adaptive, peace, console, any of those that we've talked about already today. The biggest thing is so I want to caution you with saying, like, just because a dog is scared of people, it doesn't mean they were abused. Okay, and certainly we don't want to say that a breeder was abusive when we don't know. And could that have happened? Sure. Most breeders that I know are actually very, very kind and compassionate people, and they really, really love animals. Now, we're not talking about puppy mill breeders. We're talking about people who really love their dogs. But I want to just caution you with saying, well, he was abused. Small dogs and certain personalities of dogs are afraid of all new things. And if your dog hasn't been socialized at all, like they're not around people very often, then that can be one of those triggers that they're scared of people because they're never around other people besides you. So I would encourage socialization activities, maybe working with a trainer to help with getting them a little bit better socialized and knowing that people aren't scary. They're actually awesome. But yeah, you can definitely use, in the meantime, you can definitely use like your calming oils, vetiver, those sorts of things, and maybe a little bit of the Kids Tamer blend or digestion on the tummy, since he's getting so worked up that he's vomiting. So awesome. Cheryl says, is there a recommendation for lipoma, which is a fatty lump on a golden retriever? Diet can help, especially if your golden retriever is overweight. I see a lot more of those in overweight dogs, but not always. Frankincense undiluted on it can sometimes help, as well as grapefruit. So I'm talking like consistency is the key. That lipoma didn't show up overnight, and it's not going to go away overnight. So a lot of times it takes like a month or two of consistent application. I'm not talking just one time a day, like 2, 3, 5 times a day, for that to help. Okay. Let's see. Awesome. You're welcome. Food is not love. Yes. Stephanie, what's the best oils to use with a cat that has asthma? Again, I would use maybe some lavender, some Roman chamomile, and Air X can be helpful, and cardamom. Cardamom is one of my favorite respiratory support oils for kitties. All right, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys for sticking with me. If you have an animal if you have an animal, then chances are that even if your animal is not a senior animal, your animal might become a senior in some years. And one of the things that we combat with our senior animals a lot, and one of the questions I get almost every week, I'm surprised we didn't get it this week. Lots of respiratory questions this week, but is arthritis. A lot of people ask me about arthritis, weak back ends in dogs, back problems, things like that. Very, very, very common with dogs and cats. And this week on Friday, we're going to be talking about we're doing a webinar on arthritis and inflammation in the Essential Oil Vet membership. So if you are not an Essential Oil Vet member, you can join for only $27. You can sign up for just 1 month if you want, or you can stay for 6 months or a year. It's totally up to you. You can unsubscribe at any time. And it would be worth it to watch this particular webinar. We're going to really get into what inflammation is and how we can combat arthritis and prevent it from happening in the first place. And I'm going to give you my top supplements and oils to support all species, but we're going to really be focusing on dogs, cats, and horses in that particular webinar. And of course, if you have questions about others, join, because we always do a question and answer time at the end of those webinars as well. All right, so hopefully I'll see you on Friday over there in the EO Vet membership, and if not, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.